This episode of the Media Leader podcast was edited by our production partner, Trisonic, the audio advertising specialists with over 25 years experience. For more, visit trisonic.co.uk.
You know, when I came into the industry, my first 6 months, I was doing reports, making tea and being shouted at. That's not the world now. The world is that they're coming in, they're adding strategic value from day one. And I think AI enables that.
Welcome to the Media Leader podcast. I'm Jack Benjamin. One emerging independent agency we've been watching this year has been PMG. The group has gone on an investment spree, hiring top talent and acquiring a number of businesses as it looks to challenge holding groups and other indies for business. One major hire it made last month was going out and getting Josh Krichefski, who is now PMG's EMEA President. Krichefski is a big name in this industry, having worked in leadership roles at various GroupM agencies and at GroupM for over a decade, and leading the Institute for Practitioners in Advertising, or the IPA, as its president from 2023 to 2025. He joined me recently to discuss PMG's growth strategy and what sets it apart from its competitors. Krichefski also reflected on his time as IPA President and at WPP, and we spoke about his views on the future of the agency model. This is our conversation. I hope you enjoy. Josh Krichefski, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's been a while since I started an interview with this question, but I am genuinely curious. How and why did you get into the media industry in the first place?
Wow. Okay. So it was the reason I say wow is I'm trying to think back to.
Oh, couldn't have been that long ago.
Well, it was a different century.
Okay.
I fell into the industry in some ways, I suppose. I did a degree in social anthropology and third world development studies. And when I was coming to the end of my degree, I was thinking of that my life could go in two different directions. I was partly considering carrying on with academia because I was really enjoying what I was studying, and honestly, I loved it. And I'd never really been particularly focused on academia when I was at school, but at university doing a course I really loved. I just became really passionate about it, worked very hard and really enjoyed it. So it was either carry on with that or go into a more commercial industry or world. And it was always going to be, if it had been that, it was always going to be advertising for me, because I just always loved advertising and always loved the ads. And, my brother and I, when we were watching TV, would always kind of be like, guess the brand when it came to the ads. So I don't know, we were just quite into advertising. And so that was an interest area for me. And I was particularly interested in studying social anthropology and what motivates people to do things. And so advertising felt like quite an interesting route. And so when I made that decision to not go into academia and to go into advertising, partly it was a financial thing. I sort of didn't want to be skint the rest of my life. And being an anthropologist, I would potentially be out in the field quite a lot, and that might be quite lonely, and I get energy from being around people. So I thought that was part of my consideration as well. So I ended up, going into media, going into advertising. And I didn't know whether it was going to be like, I do this job and then I'll go and do something totally different. But I did a job, and 28 years later, here we are talking about media.
Here we are. Do you have a favorite TV ad from your childhood?
Well, my brother was in an ad, a very famous ad. Yeah, he was in a BT ad with Maureen Lipman, which you won't know because you're not from the UK.
And probably wasn't around at the time.
And you probably weren't around at the time as well. Yeah, it's true. It would have been in 1989 or 1988 even, probably. And my brother played a boy called Anthony in this TV ad for BT, which was quite a famous ad, which was the Ology ad, where Maureen Lipman plays a Jewish grandma and her grandson fails all his GCSEs, but he passes sociology. And she says, "You got an ology, you're a scientist." My brother was that. So that's kind of a favorite ad of mine.
Oh, well, that's very sweet. Yeah. So you spent a lot of your career recently with WPP. I think you joined in around 2011, and then you left in March, a little bit of a break, and now you've just been sort of given the mantle of EMEA President for PMG. What about the agency attracted you to it?
So I Yeah, after I left WPP in March, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I ever wanted to work in an agency again. I was kind of really open-minded, and then I got a call from a headhunter about this role, and I had my first interview with George, the founder and CEO of the company, in Cannes, and I honestly, after my first interview, I knew I wanted this job, and the reason for it was, first of all, George was incredibly compelling. He built the technology, which we'll talk about, from day one, and has built a really incredible independent business, which is a technology first business. So I was drawn by him, and I had good chemistry with him, and also like his values are very aligned with mine. So he was talking a lot about the people and about how much he cares about the people and the responsibility he feels towards the people that work for him and the customers he works with. Like, it was really, I don't know, just authentic, and I really liked him. But also, a lot of the first interview, we were just playing on the technology platform, which is called Ali, and he just was like, do whatever you want with it. And I was asking lots of questions, and I was just asking him lots of questions and playing with it on the laptop. And I don't know, I was quite drawn by the fact that I was just imagining myself taking clients, or what we call customers, through the platform and helping them answer questions. And it just made me feel quite excited. And so that was kind of the first thing. That was that when I came away from that conversation, I was like, yeah, I think I might want to work for this company. And I guess why is it that I'm here, and to have gone from a business where I was in a very well-known company, running the biggest region for that company with 17,000 people working in that region for our company, to a much smaller business, which is very well known in America, but not known here at all, because I think it represented something completely different from what I'd been doing before. And that was quite exciting. The idea that I can build something, actually see my impact in a way that potentially I might not have been able to in my previous job, or other jobs that I'd had. So I don't know, I think and I talked to people, I got other people who know me well. I got their perspective and sort of said, what do you think? And they were like, well, I remember talking to one person who talked to me about when I was running MediaCom in the UK, and how that was probably me at my best, because you could really see my impact on that business, and you could really see how I was shaping it, or shaping client relationships, and how we were doing pitches and shaping the culture of the business. And that was when I was my most kind of animated in the last sort of 10 years, I suppose. And I'm sort of quite excited about having a similar type of impact for another company. So I think those are the main things that first attracted me. And then, these would probably sound like quite obvious things, but it's fully independent, this company. So we're absolutely, it's all about shared success with customers. It's all about making the right decisions for the long term, rather than being kind of beholden to the street on quarterly results. So it allows you a bit of freedom, and I'm already feeling that, to be able to decide what the right things are to do, both for us as a business, but also for our customers, and then do them. And it's pretty agile and quick getting to that point. Is there an implication there that maybe you couldn't do that as easily at a big company like WPP that does have quarterly earnings? Well, I think in any PLC, it's the same. You naturally, there are shareholders, so you are beholden to those shareholders. So it's just different. I mean, listen, my time at WPP was amazing. I've got no regrets at all, and I left in really good terms at WPP, and I'm very grateful to everything that happened there. And there were loads of things that were very easy to do, actually, at a big company like that, and having the resources behind me and the support from my bosses, and that was never an issue, actually. So it's not like it was an unhappy time or it was difficult to get stuff done. It wasn't. But I think there's a natural agility that you get in a smaller company that's independent, that just naturally you're looking at different metrics. The conversation's much more straightforward. There are less layers. There are less kind of there's less red tape, and yeah, that's quite refreshing.
You mentioned that PMG is a bit more known perhaps in the US than in the UK or EMEA more generally. So what's the go-to-market then here? How do you become more well-known or within a consideration set when you're trying to pitch for similar business as much bigger companies?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm working it out at the moment, to be honest with you. But PMG's been around for, I think, 14 years in total in the US. And I think and by the way, I might be getting some of this wrong, but my understanding is they started doing a lot more performance marketing in the digital space than anything else. And over time have evolved into a full service agency, really, who do 360-degree media, but also do creative. And their technology kind of spine, Ali, has been around since day one. So the first 2 employees of the company were technology people, and including the founder. And they've been building that technology since day one and evolve it every week. Literally, they have a stand-up every week that everyone's invited to, where they're constantly involving the tech. They've got a third of the employees are engineers. So that's the difference between, we're not just talking about an agency business, it's really a technology company. So the go-to-market, I guess, here is, it's we're a tech first company. Our technology is something that really brings, I think there's a lot of kind of naysayers in the industry about technology having a negative effect on the industry as a whole, customer relationships, how we work, strategy, creativity,
automating too many things,
trying to scale and automating too many things, taking away the human touch. And actually, I think our go-to-market is all about how technology does literally the opposite of all those things, brings our relationships much closer to customers, and brings creative media technology together to answer customer problems. We're very much a business transformation company, so we're much more in the corridors of our customers, really working out their problems together rather than just optimizing campaigns. And I'm seeing that already. So like my boss has been brilliant. He's sort of gone, right, I don't want your recommendations until 90 days, just observe. And I'm in my 5th week now. So I'm just observing everything right now and getting my understanding of the business. But it really is one whereby we are genuine partners to our customers, and we are actually helping them because data is very much at the heart of our technology platform and the way that we work with our customers. Everything's completely transparent. So they see everything that we see, all of the dashboarding, all of the insights we see together, all the questions. They can literally see anything that we can see. They see all the media pricing that we see. Everything's transparent. And what that enables is like a really open relationship whereby you can answer all sorts of questions together, whether that's on a product line or whether they're a business strategy in a certain business unit within their business is the right thing, or whether it's something they should be doing differently. So do you see what I mean? So it's much more of
it's almost like a consultancy.
Yeah, it
really
is
what you're describing.
It is, but we use media and creative to deliver, to deliver business growth as well. So it's a very different model to anything I've been part of before. And what I guess is different from how certain other, holdcos are, is that because the business was built from scratch on Ali, we're not building on any legacy systems. We're just evolving and growing customer relationships as we go. So yeah, I don't know whether that answers the question about what my go-to-market's going to be.
Well, it sounds like you're working it out. You're only a couple of weeks in, really.
Exactly.
But who would, maybe a better question, but better way of phrasing it is, who do you see as the biggest direct competitor to this type of a business? Or do you think there isn't any business like this? Well, it sounds a bit like almost like Brain Labs might say, we're really tech first. We've got full service now, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are good indies out there that we would find ourselves competing with, but equally we're competing with holdcos in certain pitches as well. I think some of the consultancies do play in and around similar space to us as well. But I guess what's unique about us is I haven't seen anything out there, and I've been, I looked around a little bit in my time off. I haven't seen anything that enables such ability to get to insight so quickly through the technology platform, but then activate so quickly as well in media creative. There are elements of holdcos that we're similar to. There are elements to other indies that we're similar to, and there are elements to consultancies that we are, but I haven't seen anyone that does it all in such a kind of simple, fluid way as PMG so far. I'm not saying they don't, but I'm just from what I've seen.
Sure. You're part of a bit of a hiring spree that PMG has gone on. I feel it's been a bit of a year of expansion. There's a number of other high-profile appointments apart from yourself. Matt Daly is head of analytics and measurement. Chad Stoller, global head of media. Andrea Terraza is now the COO.
Yeah.
So you've got a new leadership team that you're sort of coming in and being a part of.
Yeah.
What's the initial goal among the SLT?
I guess it's an interesting one because it's a different kind of structure. The business is quite a different structure to what I'm used to. So we're all focused on. I mean, I guess the things like, so I've been in 2 SLT meetings so far, and the biggest focus right now is holiday, right? So after Thanksgiving, Cyber Week, that is massive for PMG, right? Mm-hmm. So I've never seen such a focus at the top of the business on what we're doing for our customers through holiday week and how we lead them strategically through that period in time, right? And it's not just about optimizing campaigns. It's about literally looking at, so something that we do is we create this report for our customers on a weekly basis, right? This happens all through the year, right? Where it draws on data from what they're doing in their campaigns. It looks at macroeconomic stuff. It looks at competitor data, and it looks at data from Goldman Sachs and other banks as well. And it helps you, and basically it draws all this data together and creates a kind of recommendation for certain things they might want to be looking at, right? Mm-hmm. And we look at that for customers across the board through the year. But at holiday week, it's everyone's focused on it. And George, the CEO, is like, I mean, like his energy behind holiday season is infectious. It's almost terrifying. Like, and so that's what most of the conversation is. It's about like what we're doing on each of these different customers. So I've sat in a couple of weeks of meetings where it's just really focused on the customers. All we're talking about is the customers, really. So I guess that's what I'm seeing so far. But as I said, I'm only a month in. I don't know what happens beyond holiday or what happens in January, what the conversations are around SLT. But it's a global business with one vision and one CEO. And, he's really clear on that. So it's not like I'm a CEO with a different vision in EMEA. My job is to I don't like the word replicate, but it's to try and do here what we've been doing so successfully in the US. And we've got some great clients here, but and with more than I realized, if I'm honest with you.
All right.
But what my job is to do is to, first of all, looking at the UK, see how we can replicate doing more of what we're doing in the US there. But also how we expand geographically across EMEA. So we're delivering campaigns for many of our US-based global clients at the moment. And I want to expand that and be able to do that across more of those clients, but also to win some enterprise-level clients here in the UK and across the rest of Europe. Mm. And so I guess that's the focus for me, but that's part of a broader global expansion plan for PMG globally, and we'll be doing the same across Asia Pacific and other parts of the world as well.
Are there certain markets within the EU that you're looking, or not the EU, within Europe, that you're looking to target more than others?
I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'm looking at strategically important markets, which are probably quite obvious markets.
Sure.
Where we have an office in Germany already, but other markets where we would set up an office in kind of the key major strategic markets, and then other markets the reality is, I think it will be quite a sort of hub and spoke model where we have centers of excellence in key places around Europe, and then we have consultancy within those offices in those different in different key strategic markets where we can have customer relationships, but a lot of the work gets activated out of centers of excellence. So that's the kind of model that I'm thinking about. But again, it's early days. And I think if you were to ask any global business if they were setting up a global network now, whether they would open offices in every single market, they'd probably tell you no, because it's not efficient to do so. But they would in certain key strategic markets. So I think I'm sort of thinking in the same way, really.
Gotcha. You mentioned the strong focus on the holiday at the moment.
Yeah.
people say that every year Q4 is so important to every business, really. Are we going to have a good holiday? What's the macro looking like? Because
yeah, it
feels not great, but then people tend to spend over this time.
I mean, the reality is, listen, I don't want to be held to this, but it's all of the signs look like, although there are macroeconomic concerns, and both here and in the US for different reasons, it looks like people are still waiting for a good deal and are going to spend money when the holiday season kicks off and Cyber Week happens, and it looks like that's people more and more know what a good deal is, and are waiting on that, and then will spend, and it's looking like it's going to be a positive holiday season. Yeah.
Okay, something to be optimistic about.
Exactly.
PMG's acquired a lot of businesses over the past couple of years. Camelot, Rocket Mill here in the UK, Momentum Commerce. What's the emerging goal here? You mentioned sort of wanting to become more of a full service agency. Do you want to acquire more businesses in general, or do you at least see that as a potential opportunity? Do you feel like you've maybe reached a point where you've got a really good spine or structure to the business and you want to sort of try and drive organic growth rather than inorganic growth?
Well, so I think what's wonderful about our industry is that the breadth of capability that is required to answer all of a customer's needs. And I think that we have great breadth of talent across different capabilities, but there are always areas that we can be growing. And so I will either, here in EMEA, look to build that capability organically through hiring people, or when there's a worthwhile acquisition in, a strategic acquisition that just makes sense to be able to buy a scalable business, we'll do that as well. So we're definitely going to be expanding capability, and sometimes that's buying, sometimes it's building, and it just depends case by case. But yeah, we're looking at both options in different areas right now.
Yeah, what types of areas do you see as opportunities?
Well, I think there are. I mean, if you look at everything that we do, there are things. And by the way, these aren't. I'm not going to say we're going to be buying here and we're not going to be buying there, because there are some things that we do really well and others. But I think if you look at our business, that in paid, owned and earned, there's so many different things that we do now, creatively, through production, through creators, through different types of strategy. And so there are areas where I think we could beef up our capability, where arguably we're stronger in the US than we are here right now. And it's not as easy to migrate capability over the pond. So you want to scale quickly. But yeah, I mean, also, I guess, it's no secret that there are a lot of changes in bigger companies right now with talent leaving certain businesses. So it would be remiss of me not to look at some of the talent out there and how they might be able to add value to PMG here.
This episode is sponsored by Roku, America's #1 TV streaming platform, reaching over 90 million households worldwide. Roku connects streamers to the content they love and helps advertisers engage audiences through both brand building and performance-driving ad formats. Learn more at advertising.roku.com. Do you think that there's been a shift, and this is a topic that comes up a lot at our events and in our pages here at TML, a shift to too much performance media? Because it sounds like a lot of what PMG historically has driven is more of the performance-based side of the business. And some people, I'm sure, are annoyed that I would even use the term performance versus, say, brand. But do you think that there needs to be a correction, that there maybe was an overinvestment in parts of performance media?
I think that brand media is critically important. I've always felt that and will always feel that. And do I think there's been an overemphasis on performance? Maybe in some places, yes, and not in others. So I don't think I wouldn't make a macro point. Yeah, there's been overfocus on performance. I think we as a business, yes, performance was probably at the heart of the business when it started, but it certainly isn't now. I mean, we're doing loads of brand advertising for customers on both sides of the pond, and we look at the full funnel, and that will only continue to be the case. So yeah, I do think I think what's good about performance is the accountability element of it, and we are a very accountable business that look at real-time data every day with our customers, and that's not going to go away. But it's really important for brands to invest in the brands for the long term. And as soon as you don't do that, you see your marketing effectiveness reduce. So I'm a big believer in brand advertising and investing in brands, and I always will be.
Gotcha. You said you're only 5 weeks in. If you had to give yourself one KPI, just you personally, for your first year, say, how do you know that your first year's a success? Is it maybe we've hired on a bunch of talent that unfortunately was dropped from another agency, gives you an opportunity? Is it something with regard to actual business results, or what kind of pressures almost are you putting on yourself?
I guess probably there'd probably be 3 KPIs. I always think in threes. So I think probably the first one would be about brand awareness of PMG in this region. So it's relatively low right now. I mean, the truth is, I'd never heard of PMG when I got the call from the headhunter. So I can't expect anyone else to have known. But I want to change that. I want people to be customers, prospective customers, to be warm to the brand by the time they're coming to the room. So I think there's an awareness job to be done in the market, which I suppose I hold myself to account on that. So I'd like that to change over the first year. The second one would be, I want us to be winning more enterprise clients, customers, from some of the more established businesses out there. As I said before, we've got a really good customer list already, but I want that to be expanding and growing the business. And then I guess the third one would be, and I don't know what the number would be, but I guess there would be a quantifiable percentage of our global revenue would be EMEA. And as I said, I'm in week 5 right now, so I don't know what that needs to look like, but I'd probably hold myself to account. There would be a KPI around that as well.
Gotcha. I want to ask you as well about your time serving at the IPA. So you were IPA president from 23 to 25, is that correct?
Yeah.
And under which you championed a people first agenda. And looking back, how would you measure your success as IPA president, but also, with that agenda in particular?
Well, look, I think the agenda resonated quite well with the industry. And the only quantifiable measure I can really look at, and it's very difficult to, but is that, I launched this thing, the People First Promise, which was about getting businesses related to our industry to sign up to a promise, really, which was that they would be able to demonstrate, if they got the badge of honor, which was like People First badge of honor, they would have demonstrated how they put their people first and how they look after the well-being of their people whilst driving performance. Yeah. And I guess, and I talked about empower, support, and prevent, and there are different examples. You can show an example of how you empower people, how you support people, and how you prevent negative things in your business, negative experiences, toxic workplace culture, that sort of thing. And we've had an unbelievable take up by businesses it's like, I think it's approaching 200 now, businesses certainly have applied, and it takes time to actually get the application to be processed, and then you get the badge of honor. But so I think it demonstrated that I guess it really unified leaders of companies in our industry, that they wanted to support that and demonstrate that they support their people, and that was really important to me, and it still is really important to me. So I think that demonstrated success, but equally it's a tough time out there, and can I say, hand on heart, everybody in our industry is having a great time right now? No, I'm not. I don't put that all down to me, honestly.
Sure.
But I think it demonstrates why it's so important to be focusing on this, and why I know that the IPA is going to continue with the People First Promise, and that the idea is that after 2 years you apply again. So it's not, you don't do it on an annual basis, but the IPA is really committed, and I love that about the IPA. And, it makes me feel good about the industry that everyone really leaned in. So I felt that I really loved my time as IPA president. It was tough because I was running GroupM at the same time. So having, I really had 3 jobs for a lot of that time, because I was doing the UK and I was doing EMEA and I was doing the IPA. But it was a great privilege, and it was amazing to work with such great people and to be able to represent the industry at that level. And I was really proud to do it. And, anyone who knows me knows that people are the thing that I'm really passionate about and I really care about. And that's part of the reason for why I joined PMG, because George is similar. And the people that I've met so far are really, they seem like, people seem pretty happy, or they seem to enjoy their work, and everyone's very smart. And so I like the people kind of centered approach to leadership here as well. But yeah, my time at the IPA was precious, and I'll always look back at it really fondly.
Given all that context, what was your reaction? What is your reaction to sort of all the ongoing layoffs that we have seen this year, especially among big holding groups, WPP being one, but IPG also just laid off several thousand staff in advance of the acquisition that Omnicom's doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the sense that you care so much about the people in the industry. That can't be easy for someone like yourself to sort of see and swallow.
No, it's horrible, and it's really tough, and I know how hard it must feel for everybody who is going through this right now. And hopefully what comes from leaving a company will create opportunities for people in the future, but it's quite difficult to see that when you're being laid off, particularly at a time when lots of other people are being laid off right now, and there's so much change happening in the industry right now. And so, I don't have anything that I can particularly, like, words of wisdom other than to just try and, for people to look after themselves and take their time, and, hopefully opportunities will arise in other companies for people. Certainly we'll be looking to hire people, and I'm sure others will as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a really, really tough time for our industry right now, and particularly for people who are leaving jobs.
You mentioned it's also a time of change. You were global CEO of Essence Mediacom at the time when those agencies were merging and consolidating. Yeah. You oversaw that. I'm curious what you make of the recent moves to sort of consolidate agency brands in general. I mean, this is also at WPP, but other places are also looking at this actively. So what's the future of the agency model?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really difficult thing. I feel like, I think agency brands are important, honestly. And I think they're important to clients, customers. I think they're important to staff, and people buy into the culture of the company that they're joining. And that's one of the magical things about agency world. It's brilliant, it's creative, it's fun, and you don't want to be, I get the need to professionalize and to raise the standards of the work that we all do for our clients, but you don't want to do that at the expense of creative company culture. And it's hard. It's kind of like the intangible magic that exists in agencies. And I think that with all the transformation happening at Holdcos at the moment, some of that gets lost, and it's sad. And I think it's important that, I don't think it's it's not the end of the world, but I think it's important that there's a real focus on whatever's lost, that it's regained, and that there's a focus, that everything doesn't become just boring and commoditized. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I think we have to be careful not to lose the magic.
Within that, okay, not lose the magic is one thing. What do you see as a successful agency model in the future, I guess? So, okay, keeping magic is great, but what else? Because that keeping magic is not necessarily going to win you business all the time.
I think customers will always buy into people. and they will always be attracted by great thinkers, great ideas, amazing partnerships, and the ability to move fast, do great creative work, and resonate with their customers or their prospects out there. And so any agency that's able to do that and demonstrate that is going to be successful. And I think that we all have to evolve, and our approach is a very technology focused approach, which we believe brings us and our clients closer together. But I think there's lots of different ways of doing things. But ultimately, if you're moving with the times, which we all have to, and you're able to do great work for customers, for clients, then you'll be successful. And it's I can't design for you what the agency of the future looks like, because it's different. They're not all going to be the same. That's I guess the magic of our industry. But if we think that we can survive on what worked in the past, I think that would be naive. I think we have to, we all have to move with the times. So much has changed in our world. So much has changed with media consumption, and we need to be able to adapt, as we always have done, honestly. That's what the most successful agencies are the ones that are able to adapt the quickest. That just continues to be the case.
You alluded to this at the start, but I'm curious, reflecting back on, you did spend a long time with GroupM and its agencies. How do you feel when you look back on your time there and the time since you left as well? I mean, emotionally.
As I said earlier, I feel like an immense amount of fondness for the company. I had some of my best times in my working years, working at WPP, working with brilliant people, having amazing bosses, having amazing teams around me. I've always said I'm nothing without the people around me, and I was always very lucky. My career changed. My last 2 years at WPP were running GroupM across EMEA, and that was a very different job to when I was working within an agency. So I was working at Mediacom, and then I was Essence Mediacom, and I'd be lying if I said it was the same. It was quite different. It was more of a corporate role, and it was probably a bit less fun, really. And I spent less time with our clients, and I didn't like that, if I'm honest. And so I just look back on, my fondest years looking at WPP was definitely working closely with clients, with brilliant people around me, pushing me. I was learning from everyone around me every day. And, I was really lucky to, there was so much, I had a lot of investment in me. I had coaches when I was working there that really grew me as a human being, as well as a marketing and advertising professional. And I was able to be free to create the culture around me. When I was in leadership roles, I was given great autonomy. As long as we were growing the business, I was given kind of freedom and autonomy to do it in the way that I wanted to do it. And it was never always down to me, but we had a lot of success winning and retaining business at that time, and establishing a real people first culture, and one whereby people were able to bring their true selves to work. And I had a big focus on mental health and well-being, and I was given total freedom to do that. You know what I mean? So I feel very grateful for that experience, and it's really set me up well for now and for the future. I only have positive things to say.
Do you worry that something like AI is going to make things more boring? I think is the word that you used a few minutes ago, or that can be integrated into agencies like at WPP, which is because GroupM's now WPP Media.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going with a big AI strategy. But
Yeah.
it's not just them.
Yeah,
Lots of places are doing it. So, do you think that
Not
presents
at all.
an opportunity or
Yeah.
a concern?
I think it's opportunity. I don't feel negative about AI, really. I think it creates, it has to be done ethically. It has to be within, and I think everyone's trying to get their heads around that right now. But I think AI creates an amazing opportunity for us to be able to do better work at scale. AI at its best is an opportunity for us to be able to use the technology to do better work as human beings. And if you try and do anything at the expense of the human touch, you're going to fail. And so I think with AI is the opportunity to how do you use that technology to get to answers quicker, but to be able to, it's still the human that has the final say on the creativity and on where the work goes. And so no, yeah, I feel positive about it. And it takes away a lot of, AI has already taken away so much of the kind of grunt work and the work that doesn't add any value. So that the people who are doing the work are able to add value.
As opposed to getting cut?
Well, I guess the problem is that what you don't, I can't talk to where cuts are happening in some of the bigger holdcos. I just can't. So I don't know.
Of course, yeah.
Honestly. But when I look at the work that we're doing, there's a thing called the GLP, right, in the US, which is a graduate leadership program. These young people come in and they do this leadership program where they're they're training for the first few months and then they're in roles. Those guys they're adding strategic value from day one on their clients' businesses, right? So they're not doing reports. They're not doing work that can be done by technology. They're literally adding value. They're writing code. So many of them are AI native. They're actually, even though they're working, some of them are creative, some of them are media, some of them do both, but they're writing, some of these people are writing code that the technology team aren't writing, okay? Because they're a different breed of professional coming into our industry. And so what I guess I'm saying is that AI enables, when I came into the industry, my first 6 months, I was doing reports, making tea and being shouted at. That's not the world now. The world is that they're coming in, they're adding strategic value from day one. And I think AI enables that.
And you need to then, if you're a young person who's trying to enter the industry, maybe you need to start looking at a different skill set.
Yeah, I would say so. But I would say so.
All right. As we've talked about, you spent a great deal of your career dedicating time to advancing things like mental health practice, caring about people. Apart from your work at the IPA, you were also the inaugural Future 100 Club ambassador here at the Media Leader, and also one of the 25 founding members of the Media Leader Club, which is a bit jazzy. You're certainly on a new path now with PMG, but I'm curious, you said 28 years or so in the industry and moving forward, what do you want your legacy to be as a leader?
I mean, I don't really know. I guess all I've ever really wanted to do is, this hasn't changed, is in my way somehow help people to enjoy their work. So I guess, I don't call that a legacy, but I mean, this I've been doing this for quite a long time now. How can I help people both within my company, but also in the industry or in business as a whole, have a more positive experience in work every day? Because ultimately we all spend so much time at work, it impacts our overall happiness in life. And so that will always be my, kind of my big, hairy, audacious goal. What that looks like, it changes over time, but that will always be my focus. How can I contribute in my small way at doing that? And that will always continue to be the case until probably the day I die.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that. Josh, it's been a total pleasure chatting. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Media Leader podcast. Our executive producer is me, Jack Benjamin. Special thanks to our production partner, Trisonic. You can find all our episodes on the podcast platform of your choice or on our website at uk.themedialeader.com. But do please remember to subscribe to be notified of our next episode. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at The Media Leader to receive daily coverage of all the biggest news stories in media and advertising. From all of us at The Media Leader, I'm Jack Benjamin. See you next time.